Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be back on the Fire ZL1. I don't know if you saw the previous video. If you didn't, go check it out. But we bought a just completely burn up ZL1 Camaro. It's 2018. It's got the Supercharger LT4 in it. I mean, this thing was, it was bad. There's nothing left. Everybody said that it was a bad idea. Some guy said we were a fool for paying $2,800 what we paid for the car. So today we're going to find out if we're actually a fool or not. I've got a Leakdown tester right here. What we're going to do is put it in each cylinder. We're going to put a compressor up to here and put 100 pounds in the cylinder, and it'll tell us what percentage of leak is coming out of that cylinder. So it'll tell us if the cylinder is good, it'll tell us if the piston is good. It'll even tell us little things like if it's got a valve that's leaking, or a bad piston ring, or bad head gasket or anything. So it's really going to tell us if the engine is good or not. And then I'd like to pull the supercharger apart. It's not spinning nice and free. I don't know exactly why. I don't know if there's a bushing in here that got hot. So we're going to do that also. And then I'm going to pull the pan off of it, and I'd like to see what the bearings look like. So we're going to start working on this thing and see if we're actually fools or not. Here's what the engine actually looks like right now. Actually cleaned up pretty good. Still got some burnt stuff on it. I'm gonna start taking these rockers off, and then we'll hook the air hose to this leak down gauge and see what we got. Alright guys, I'm actually taking the rocker arms off because every now and then there's carbon buildup in the valves and it'll give us a faulty reading. So we'll get the rocker arms off of here. And this thing's actually got stem caps on each intake valve, so we'll take these stem caps off, because what I'm actually going to end up doing, as you'll see, but I'm going to be tapping the top of the valve with a hammer just so slightly, and I don't want to shoot a cap off. Alright, so we'll go ahead and do number one. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this engine over till it's top dead center. Where is that tool? Right here. And you'll be able to hear it. I always stick my thumb over it like this. See, we're almost there. Once you start getting no air, or very, very little air, you're there. I think we're too far past. So right now the piston should be standing straight up and down in the engine. Adjust this to 100%, and there we have 2% leak down on that cylinder. So we will, let's see, go in firing order. So we'll go 1, then we only have to turn the crankshaft over 1/4 of a time. 1, 8. We gotta take these rockers off. Alright, so we're in here. We're gonna turn this engine over. Should only have to turn it over 1/4 of a turn. Too far. We're not getting any air. That means the piston is going down. One way to do this, push this thing back and just ever so slightly push it on there and watch the crankshaft. Crankshaft didn't turn, so we're good. 100%. Man, look at that. 0.5% of leak down. I'm going in the firing order. So I should be marking the crank, and I'd have 4 spots. I'd know exactly where to go when I do the second half, but we're gonna do it the more difficult way, I guess. All right, we are in number 7. It's not looking so hot right now. All right, we're at about 42. Let's go ahead and tap some valves. See, it's starting to close up. It's got some carbon buildup in it. It's the intake valve. It's not so loud because it's going into the supercharger. See, look at that. We're at 10. About 11% on number 7. So nothing to be worried about. Like I showed you, there's going to be carbon buildup and on the valves, and the engine hasn't run in who knows how long. So a little bit of tapping on the valves will get us real close, and that was only 10%. So it's not something we're going to worry about. So let's go 1872. All right. So we're set up right, and I just gave this this exhaust valve a little bit of a tap. And watch, I'm gonna give it another tap. Then take a tap. See, we're starting to come around. The exhaust one is loud because it's coming right out the head. But we're gonna go with that, 8%. That's not bad. We'll go to 6. We got 100%. We're leaking 20. So go ahead and do a little love taps. Looking about 24. I'll come back to this guy. 187265. That's a good one right there. Number 5, 100%. We are leaking 1%. Number 4. See, we weren't in the right spot. The crankshaft turned. Look at that. That's coming out the exhaust port. So much carbon is on there. So we'll give them a little tap. They're gonna be starting to close up. Closing up more. Still got a little more carbon on them. Man, he sealed up good there. Adjust this back to 100. Leaking 4%. It's a good hole. So we'll go to the last one, number 3. should stop. So that's 100. We're leaking 22. Oh yeah, it was intake valve for sure. 100%. We're leaking, I'm gonna say, we'll call that 3%. All besides number 6. Let's go back to number 6. And there she is, 21. Maybe get the intake off and see if it's coming out the intake valve, or might just be going into the pan. Could have a scuff on the cylinder wall, could have something. I mean, this is something I would run. And 20% on a boosted engine that's nothing to seriously worry about. And when you start leaking 40-50%, then it's something to really look into. But the boost kind of makes up for any sort of leak. I mean, it really helps. This is a naturally aspirated engine. It would definitely, you would see a little bit of performance lack because of that, but I don't think you'd see much on this engine. All right, let's start ripping this blower apart. It's looking pretty good in here. I'm not seeing, I've never had one of these apart, honestly, so I don't know exactly what I'm looking at. But look, I mean, we still got Sharpie written inside the blower. So, insulator. And that thing actually did a very good job at protecting these fuel lines. So the way these new engines work, I don't know how familiar some of you guys are with them. The injectors are now down here in the cylinder heads. They're direct injected. The fuel pump is driven off the camshaft, off a lobe on the camshaft. So this is the fuel pump. Fuel comes in here, camshaft spins, pushes the high pressure fuel pump. Fuel comes out, goes into the injectors, and yeah, that's the way it works. So a little nasty looking down here. Actually, I can't believe how good that, I mean, no fire, no discoloring, right there in the middle. Definitely killed this injector harness. All right guys, now that I got the supercharger off, I'm gonna redo number 6 and see if I feel any air coming through up here. Still should be there. Didn't turn it over any. Watch me fling the ratchet. 22. Yeah, it's just leaking down into the pan, I think. A little bit better every time we do it, but I'm honestly not that worried about that. Like I said, 20% on a supercharged engine, turbocharged engine, forced induction engine. That's nothing I would really, personally worry about. Boost makes up for a lot of things. All right guys, I put the top end back together. That way we can flip it over and not lose the push rods and stuff like that. So let's flip this thing over and see what we got underneath. All right, these new engines now have gaskets on, or don't have gaskets on them. They just use silicone. Must be a lot cheaper for GM. Didn't help us guys who like to reuse the gaskets. One nice thing about these is the pickup tube and everything is inside the pan. So here's where the gasket is for the pickup tube. I was worried about this also. I think it's supposed to be the same on both sides, so it got a little warm. This is one thing I was worried about. So we'll need a gasket. And whew, it got warm in there. Melted the plug. This plug comes out and plugs in out here. And it toasted that plug pretty good. Looks like it's worse in the back than in the front. So let's get 7 and 8 up here. A little piece of dirt went into it, but that's nothing. Got a little wear on the edges. Man, it looks like he was beating on this thing. When I pulled my ZL1 apart, the bearings look just about the same. Yeah, it looks the exact same. Just one little tiny piece of dirt. Yeah, it looks the same. It's just a little shiny at the base by the middle of the rod. Alright guys, I pulled the windage tray out. And it is gonna need an oil level sensor. The plastic burned up on it, and it was actually laying down in the pan like that. So one more thing that we'll need replaced, but it's looking like all the hard parts on the engine are actually pretty good. So get a new sensor here. I want to pull the balancer off and the front cover. There's actually a few more plastic pieces. There's some timing chain tensioners in there that are plastic that I'd like to check out. But other than that, I mean, this thing is actually probably going to turn out like a pretty good buy, I think. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's got their own opinion. Everybody thinks what they want to think. But I mean, this is probably around a $20,000 setup on eBay right now if it was pulled out of a running driving car with the 6-speed that's sitting over there. And I mean, I've got 2,800 bucks on it. So I mean, minus the little plastic pieces and the dropouts, got all the harness and everything, but you don't use those in a swap anyways, the harness. So that's all we got for right now. I think I'm going to flip it back over. I want to put the blower back on it and see if I can't pull that snout off. All right, so I pulled the snout of the blower off, as you can see right here. And something in here is causing it to turn real rough. There must be a bearing in here. I'll have to get that apart and see if we can find what the actual problem is. But the blower itself, here's the isolator I was wondering about. And it seems to look pretty good. Gonna need a little bit more grease put in them, but spins nice and easy. So I think the blower's good. I think this thing is ready to go. I think that number 6 cylinder is gonna clean up. Like I said, each cylinder's, it's got this color of actually you can see it more right here, where the oil just kind of got really, really hot and almost, like I was saying before the battery died on the GoPro, each cylinder has this kind of powdery oil that got real hot and just pretty much baked. And each cylinder wall's got a little bit of that in it. So once this thing runs and the piston rings get to work and start cleaning up the cylinder walls, I think this thing will be good to go. I'm not seeing anywhere we're gonna have any issues. We'll have to go through it and reseal the front and rear covers, and just make sure everything that's rubber and plastic is good to go. I think all the hard parts and all that will be good. So that's it for today. It's a quick little update video on this thing, and hopefully we'll get it put into something here pretty soon and then show you guys how this thing runs. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for some more content, and we'll see you guys later. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, if the engine's not centered or the video's a little crooked or something, I'm sorry, but this is how I recorded this video. This little clip on the bill of my hat. That was the best way I could think of recording this by myself and having both hands free. So we'll see how it turned out.